Destination Marc.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, and we're in 2019. This is the first video of the new year. I'm excited. So we've got a lot of things that we'll be going over this year. So one of the things I want to start with, which I should have done last year, and I totally didn't. We were crunching on a lot of stuff last year. I never got around to putting a good thoughts video together, a good review together for Spyro Reignited Trilogy. So I want to do that today. Under the first, we have it. Welcome to put it over my face. Marc's game reviews. I said I was going to do this a long time ago. Never did. I did a couple of film reviews in the past, which I may or may not get to again this year. So that might be a thing. I'm not sure yet. Definitely, I want to do game reviews, on here. The only reason why I hadn't done any was because of Trash Talk on Westside Studios, but I want to do some that I personally want to do on here. So let's start with Spyro. That being said, I have maybe 3, but this is still not really structured very well. This is my first, of the Marc's game reviews. So I have 3 points for the most part. I'll just intermittently throw some other things in there if it just comes to mind. We've got the music, the gameplay, and the characters and the art style. So those are the 3 big main things I want to talk about. So we'll do that. Whatever else comes to mind, I'll just throw in there. So yeah, let's get started. So I wanted to get the music out of the way first because that's the iffiest thing for me about the game. So the music, for me, it's good, and it's done by Steven Vankov, completely redone, just like with Insane. That was in-house though. But I bring up Untitled Trilogy because Reignited's music, the remastered music, has kind of the opposite problem that I had with Insane's music. So to recap on that, in part 1 of the Comeback Saga, I had mentioned for Insane that its music, certain tracks, as a whole, particular tracks from certain levels, mainly in Crash 1, felt or sounded too boisterously loud, and not volume loud, but instrumentation kind of loud, when it should be more subdued and kind of calm sounding, because the music was kind of atmospheric in the original Crash 1. And so one of the examples that comes to mind right now is Upstream, the waterfall levels. So it sounds calm and subdued in the original, but it's a little bit more wacky and kind of here we are in the in the remaster. With Spyro, it's the opposite. I found that certain tracks I wanted to be boom, boom, and it's to come out, the drums have to, because Stuart Copeland was a drummer for the Police, so he knows drums, he knows percussion. So the percussion in the original Spyro trilogy was there, and it was banging, and it was hard-hitting, and it sounded really good. So you could pick out that drum set when you listen to Spyro's music. Here, it's a little on the subdued side when it should be more up there. So sometimes they got it right. Sometimes he got it really. Steven Vankov got it really good, and some of the ones I can think of off the top of my head are Sunny Villa was pretty okay, and this unlike Insane with it just being Crash 1, here for Spyro it's kind of throughout the trilogy of games. So music that should be tracks that should be a bit more up there and full of oomph and whatnot are kind of subdued, or they really shouldn't be. So it's a bit more quiet, a bit more I don't want this to sound mean, but a fan rendition rather than another big studio trying to remake another big studio's work, a big studio's previous work. It just needed more power to it, is what I'm trying to say. Sunny Villa was okay, certain parts again were kind of there, but the whole track overall was okay. From Spyro 1, there were a couple that were pretty good, geez, what can I think off the top of my head? My favorite level from Spyro 1, Lucky Castle, that one was actually pretty okay. There's literally no others that come to mind right now, but I know that there were some that were really good in Spyro 1. Spyro 2, Colossus, when we first saw it before the game came out, Colossus music was pretty good. So there were some where they stuck really close, and I was okay, I think Stuart Copeland's guidance to Steven Vankov, kind of paid off there, but still in other areas, it needed more power. So that's basically it for the music. I'm not going to dock it too much for that, but I love my video game music, you know this. If you know me and you've seen my previous music-based top 5s and whatnot, like, you know that I love my video game music. So when it comes to Spyro, like, I know Spyro's sound, and trying to mimic someone else's sound is very, very hard to do, as you can see here. So like, and if you've played the games, so, or even just heard the music, you don't have to play the games, just go and find the OSTs online, and there's a noticeable difference. But yeah, so the music was okay, but just kind of needed more power in some areas, but it was alright overall. So next, the gameplay, and that's the biggest thing. We were all wondering, what will the gameplay feel? What will Spyro feel like? How will he feel like? And then the characters from Spyro 3 as well. So like Crash, we had that similar thought, but Crash is more linear. Spyro is more open. So with that said, he does need to feel a certain way with the way he glides and all that stuff. And at first, like in the E3 build, he felt like okay, but it needed work, and all you had to do was just watch the footage, and if you were like a big Spyro fan, you could tell that certain things looked kind of off, or like it needed work. Playing it, you could definitely feel it as well, but it still felt like good. And I've said this before a million times, I'll keep saying it where I have to. It does not feel like the originals. Do not listen to someone who says, oh, it feels exactly like the old games. You'll remember it straight from 1998, and now with 2018, it feels exactly, no, it doesn't. It's not one-to-one. It does not feel the exact same. And I don't really expect it to. I did not expect it to feel the exact same. Same thing also I want to say real quick, goes for CTR remastered, Nitro Field. It's not going to feel the same, I bet. So with these remasters, the point being here is, do not expect them to feel just like the originals. They're not. And this one doesn't, but it still feels good. Playing the final game after playing the GameStop demo, the E3 demo, from each demo onward until the final game, like there were noticeable differences in the way it feels, the way it looks. We'll get to that later. Yeah, no, Spyro feels really good though. Like, it doesn't feel exact, but it's going to be, like the music, it's going to be hard to get it exact. So it's best to not think, let's get it exact, and rather, I mean, you can get it close, but let's make it feel at least fluid and good at control. And Spyro and the other characters from 3 do feel good at control. Oh my god! Speaking of 3, holy shit, Sergeant Bird feels really good at control, and Agent 9 feels really good at control. Sheila is a little bit clunkier, but it's not that bad. It's generally the same from the original game, but a little on the clunky side, but she still feels okay to control. Bentley is pretty... Bentley's is over the shoulder, his levels, and controlling him puts the camera over the shoulder for some reason, and I don't know why, but I mean, Sanzuru helped a lot with Spyro 3 to help develop it, so there's a lot of weird camera decisions and whatnot, and it's arguably the glitches of the trilogy. But that being said, Bentley feels okay. So Toys for Bob knew what we wanted to see and feel with the controls for the most part, so they had to tweak what needed to be tweaked. And yeah, so the controls for characters that we were like, from the original are really good here for the most part. So vastly improved, as it were. So they feel really fluid. It feels fluid. It feels good at control. That's the main thing, and that's what makes it good. So the controls are pretty awesome. Gliding around is still fun. Everything is still fun. Like the way they used Spyroscope to make sure everything was pretty much one-to-one, as close as they could get it with the original layouts, geometry, stuff like that. It pays off, because you don't have to think about that stuff while playing. Like, if you know the originals, you can play this off muscle memory, and whether you're a big fan or not, which is awesome. So it feels good to control, and it's awesome. With that said, yeah, next number. Okay, so number 3, or the third point rather, is the art style. So the art style and the characters as well. Art style is pretty close to Spyro as you can get, while maintaining the kind of, since it's Toys for Bob, that kind of Skylanders-esque whimsical fantasy style. Where it counts, like in Dreamweaver, I keep hearing that apparently a lot of the basis for the floating islands and whatnot for Skylanders was kind of based off of Dreamweavers from the first Spyro. So in Dreamweavers now, in Reignited, with it being Toys for Bob, like there is very much some kind of a Skylanders-esque imagery with, like, for example, that homeworld in particular. Plus a lot of Skylanders Easter eggs, not just, the balloonist being voiced by, like, the guy who does Blobbers from Spyro's Adventure. I think he shows up in other games as well. A lot of them are voiced by that guy for the balloonist. And then, like, fucking one of the dragons in Dreamweavers has a lantern that's based off the Traptanium thing from Trap Team. So there's a lot of, like, that stuff going on with that. But seeing as a lot of people were saying for Insane that because that was Vicarious Visions, and they've done a couple games here and there for Skylanders, like there were straight up Skylanders placeholders from Imaginators in Insane. We haven't seen the beta innards of Reignited like that yet, but just by looking at the art style, it's pretty much on one hand what I envisioned for a remastered Spyro to look like on the PS4, and it being from the guys who did Skylanders. Like, it has that kind of, it's a good fusion of, like, their style, and you see it first in Skylanders, and then them trying to mimic how cartoony everything looked in the original Spyro. So it's a kind of a mashup of sorts, I guess you could say. But it's good, and it's hella colorful. Like, seeing how with Crash it was the controls and stuff, and certain, like, enemy designs and whatnot that were really, really, like, really early when we first saw it. And then it changed and improved over time. With Spyro, it was the coloring of certain, like, the palettes, I guess, of certain skyboxes and the grass and whatnot, and especially the lighting as well and shading. That was early when we first saw, like, that initial announcement trailer back in April of last year. That's weird to say. And seeing as a lot of it was taking place, it looked like the setting looked like it was evening because they hadn't messed with the lighting just yet. It was very, very early. And then seeing the freaking launch trailer right before the game came out, there was some huge improvements. Artisans is that first one that comes to mind. I'll just throw those pictures up again. It's very that difference. So it, like, to the point where when we first saw that was the difference and that they changed it drastically to make it more colorful, like, a lot of us got surprised. I was like, oh my god, like, it threw me off. I was like, that's awesome. So getting to actually play it and dive in, like, it's crisp, it's good. The art style and the colors and everything are just, they pop out, and it's amazing. So that's about it for that. It's really good, and all around, the game was treated with respect. Like, you can't tell me that it wasn't. So with that in mind, like, it's all around really good. That's all I can really say about it. So ratings, let's go to that. Oh wait, we can't go to ratings. I didn't do characters. Let's do characters real quick. Okay, so basically, personalities, voice actors, designs. All the personalities are pretty much the same. The only one I can think of that's even remotely different is Hunter, kind of. He was always kind of like radical, but he's less like, I'm high, because it's not Greg Berger doing the voice. So everyone else is pretty much intact. Voice actors and stuff is obviously, that's the different part, like, mainly. Just because, like, with Insane, some returned and some didn't. So the people they got to do those characters whose voice actors did not come back, pretty much still nailed them down. Like, Bianca was, like, pretty good. Alora was pretty good. So those characters are awesome. Returning voice actors like Tom Kenny as Spyro, Greg Berger as Ripto. They sound a little bit different, but generally the same. So it's not lost on. And they did that specifically for us, the fans. So it's not lost on us. Like, oh god, they sound way more different than they should. No, not so much. They try to keep a couple of them as super faithful like that as possible, with bringing, like, back the voice actors and everything. Designs are obviously another different part of it because going back to Hunter, he's more detailed. He's got little tufts of hair now and stuff like that. He's got, like, bracelets and such on him, and he always carries his quiver or whatever. So there's that. With that, it's not as drastic as, like, Insane's was. Well, not even with Insane, it was too drastic. Like, they were kept pretty much the exact same, almost. With Spyro, there were a bit more, like, creative, that's what I'm looking for, like, liberties that they took for certain characters. Again, biggest ones that come to mind are Sheila and Hunter. Like, they're the two that, like, don't look at all like they did in the original. But that's for the better, because again, people complain about Sheila and whatever, but like, she was still cool. And Hunter was so cool. So I mean, me liking them is not saying that everyone should. I'm just saying that I didn't have a problem with them. So that said, Moneybags is a little different too. So some characters, and that's just the main like cast of characters that appear for the most part in like every game. Then there's the NPCs from 2 and 3, who some are like pretty crazy, others are generally the same, as close as they could keep them. But they all look really good. So I mean, they're still really cool. So yeah, they still, with the art style, there's changes, but not too heavy of changes, and those that had to be changed, you kind of were like, okay, I can see why, and it works still. So yeah. Now we can get on to ratings. Ratings, like with my film reviews, are going to be done out of 10. So with that in mind, seeing as the music is pretty good, but could have a little bit more power to it, the gameplay is pretty, not as faithful as it could be, but again, it's hard to recreate it, so they try to get it as close as possible. Still feels good in control. The improvements that had to be made were made for the better. Feels pretty good. Art style is very nice, very eye-popping, really awesome to look at, really nice to look at. Colorful as all hell, really good. And the character portrayals are awesome as well, as faithful as they could get it, with personalities, voice actors, and designs. So Spyro Reignited Trilogy, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's really awesome, it's nice, it's pretty damn faithful. You can tell that Toys for Bob learned from what Vicarious Visions did with Insane. Try to do that and then go above and beyond. Speaking of the music as well, you can also switch to the classic original music, so that's awesome. Something Insane should have had, but I'm glad that they did it for Spyro. And again, Spyro's music is just that much more familiar. If you know it, awesome, and then you can switch to what you know and just keep it like that, and that's awesome. So yeah, Spyro Reignited Trilogy gets a 9 out of 10 for me. Great all around. It's a really good remaster. It really is. Like, if you haven't played the originals, you can get into them right here, and you're not losing much of that magic. There's, again, little bits and stuff. The reason why I didn't put it as a 10 or even a 9.5 is because certain little bits still do need to be tweaked, fixed. The music, they're not going to do anything with the music, I already know that. They did during production, which is really cool, unlike Insane, sort of, because with Insane, hearing some of the music, it was really early, and they didn't do too much to change it in Insane. There were notable differences in certain tracks from what we heard in the beginning of Reignited before it was released to when it was released. I really listened to the music and stuff, and there was certain bits where I'm like, they changed it, that's awesome. So, fixing stuff up due to even the smallest little things of like, oh, maybe this, or it's taking feedback into consideration and doing what you can to listen to it and have the results show in production. That's cool. Now that it's out and we have the power of patching, certain little glitches and stuff and little things, particularly in Spyro 3, like I said with Sanzuru, doing certain things to Spyro 3 that were kind of weird. Boss battles with the camera, fixed camera angles, kind of weird. Stuff like that should probably be tweaked, in my opinion. So it's stuff like that. There are glitches that people are finding that do need to be kind of fixed up. Like there's a patch of invisible collision leading up to, you all know what I'm talking about, leading up to the to Ice Cavern in Spyro 1 with Peacekeepers. There is this piece of collision that you can just stand on, and you're standing on nothing. Stuff like that. There was probably rocks that were supposed to go there and they didn't put them in for the wall, in the little cave area for the entrance. Fix stuff like that. That goes without saying. But there's other glitches and whatnot that need to be fixed as well. Just smaller stuff, whatever. The music does take it down a small notch, but not enough, to make it like a big, like 7 out of 10 because of the music. No, 9 out of 10. It's great. It's still good. You're gonna have a great time with it. Play it. That's what I'm saying. Just play it. Stop watching it. Go play it. But yeah. So we're in 2019. Expect a lot more cool stuff, a lot more content, a lot more streams, all that stuff. I got some more stuff happening like immediately after this video, so stay tuned. yeah, that's it. What do you guys think of the game, this review? Let me know in the comments down below. What do you have, what kinds of opinions and such do you have on certain aspects for Spyro that you can mention in the comments? So go ahead and do that. I'll probably reply. Yeah, I'm Marcelo. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Take care.